Morning, CMX. How's everybody doing? All right, I'm super excited to be here. Dani Weinstein. I've been coming to CMX since 2017. The presentation today is really going to be very important for everybody. Kind of an orientation around B2B, which has been my wheelhouse the last decade. My community journey began with Hewlett Packard back in 2008 with the HP support forums. Then went on to two unicorns, Doma Kaltura, most recently SAP. So let's get into it. It's super important that we understand that you have to be able to measure the value of community. And I see community really as the horizontal that can drive value across the business. The number one reason why professionals come to a B2B community is to learn and grow and to solve problems. And so in order to do that, if we think about building out a community, it's going to drive a lot of value in various ways. The first and foremost is, particularly if you've got Q&A in the community, it's going to help drive support deflection. Customers would prefer to find information through a Google search or through an AI bot that's crawling community as opposed to contacting support. As you start to create great conversations, best practice discussions, solved answers, that becomes really rich content. It becomes a farm for education to harvest knowledge-based articles and to develop learning journeys that can be tied to the community. And so that helps really drive the value of learning and growing with the community for those professionals. As you start to grow the community and integrate gamification, you're going to begin to develop superfans and advocates. This becomes really important for the marketing organization. Again, those are the people that will be speaking at your customer events. They're going to be speaking at your user groups. They're going to be promoting the brand at the accounts that they are at, as well as influencing their peers when they meet up, because they talk about their excitement around how much they enjoy using the product, as well as some of the challenges that they're facing. As you move into integrating your community into CRM, you can start to actually connect the dots of, you know what, I've got 1,000 accounts in my business. You can start looking at, well, of those accounts, how many people have engaged members of my community? If you look at some of the historical data, accounts that typically are more engaged in a community typically have higher rates of upsell, retention, and renewal, and less churn. That becomes really important for the customer success and sales organizations. And finally, community is truly the voice of the customer. And so for engineering, engineering is getting emails from the CEO, from sales, from support. You should be developing this. You should be adding this feature. And typically the VP of engineering is chasing hundreds, maybe thousands of ideas. There's opportunity to create an ideas exchange or even work with smaller cohorts of your superfans to really understand what's most important for the platform, but also as you tie that to your CRM, you can tie not only the gamification of voting around the ideas, you can actually measure it relative to what does it mean for the business. If we do this idea, does it mean it's going to be important for my top 5 accounts that equal 10 million in ARR? Or is it simply someone who has the voice of the CEO who went to college with him, but he's only spending $5,000 in ARR? So again, you're providing valuable data. Now, how do you go about and measure this? I mean, for support deflection, for example, if you've got an online community, you could be doing surveying around, did you find the information that you are looking for today? Did you intend to contact support? And map that against your traffic. Solved answers, best practice discussions become valuable, and they can be measured as to how many are being created, the efficiencies around the content that's being created. Marketing, again, they're looking for those brand champions and advocates to speak at events. It's becoming a farm. So if we take a step back, understanding how do I measure this, put together sort of a roadmap when you're coming into an organization of how can I measure that, and look at developing where where you may have gaps. So as you have those initial models of capturing value, you want to then think about, all right, who's my audience? You certainly need to start with, okay, am I sitting in support? It's really important. Am I talking to the head of support? What is their North Star? Is it deflection? If it's the head of education, it's likely going to be around enabling customer journeys. If it's marketing, it's providing them this farm of advocates. If it's engineering, it's helping them drive efficiencies around voice of customer and ideation. And customer success, their wheelhouse really is around upsells, retention, and renewal. So having that modeling around again, the accounts that have engaged members and not. As you start to show that value, you can then get the excitement of the CSFs to say, you know what, my accounts are not in community. They should be, because guess what? It's going to help me drive more value for the business. So at the end of the day, my suggestion would be you need to start with where you sit in your organization. In my career, I've actually been part of support, part of marketing, part of the COO's organization. And so to really bring it all together, you want to take a step back and first of all identify what can I measure today? Where are my gaps? How do I go and get that information? Again, with AI now, with a lot of disparate data sets, we're going to have more ability to actually get to some of these answers. But really start with the organization you sit. If you have your C-levels executive sponsorship and mindshare, you're going to have success where you sit. As you start to identify other areas, let's say you sit in support, you want to start tackling marketing, engineering, you can then get that executive to help you go across organizationally. Do your homework. Understand what's the language of the C-level that I'm talking to. Because if you don't speak their language, you're not going to get their mind share. And so finally, you need to be able to tell a good story backed up with solid data. At the end of the day, especially in B2B, you're running a business. Communities are not nice to have. Obviously, they drive value for the customer base. But at the end of the day, they also need to be tied to the KPIs of the organization that you're in. Now again, this is very much oriented around the B2B world, but a lot of these concepts apply to really any of the communities that you're trying to build, whether it be nonprofit, education, so forth. Hope you find this helpful. You can find me on LinkedIn and find me out inside. Cheers.